Hello everybody, it's AO from AOCan again, and today we are continuing our 2D top-down tutorial series. So first of all, I'd like to go over why I haven't had a video in the past 2 weeks. I am a college student, and I was moving out of my dorms because we had just finished finals, so it was a very busy 2 weeks for me. With that said, this video will be a little bit longer to make up for that. We're going to try and cover most of what we would have covered in the other videos. We're gonna fix a couple of the issues we had going on. So right now, our player and our slime only look in one direction. Along with that, our slime currently just moves straight through the fences, and we don't really want that. Our player's interacting with them just fine. We'll probably adjust the hitboxes because we don't want him to run to the bottom of the fence, because typically his body should be around where he stops. Along with how janky the hitboxes are with it being so far away still. But we'll go over how to fix all of that today, and then if we have time after that still, we will be adding in a health system. So we'll just make a little health bar for our player, and then whenever our slime hits our player, we'll decrease it. And we're going to use delegates to do that. Very helpful system to learn. And we'll cover the basics of how to do that in today's video. With that, let's get started. First of all, with just fixing our slime, because that'll be really easy, I think. So first of all, we're going to make a new layer, and I'm going to put mine on layer 6, and I'm going to say this is our character layer. If I spelled that wrong, yell at me in the comments. I am dyslexic. But yeah, and then we are going to throw our player on our character layer, and also our slime on our character layer. And then we are going to move our objects to another new layer, and we're going to say background. Or actually, I'll just say BG. That doesn't really make sense now, does it? Let's add layer, and we'll change this from background to objects. Or obstacles. I'll do obstacles. And yeah. Sorry for the indecisiveness, just want to do a good naming scheme. It's better that way. So we'll keep our character on this one, and we'll keep this on obstacles. And then we will go over to our follow enemy, and we are going to add a component, rigid body 2D, and basically just copy the rigid body from our player. You could also do that too, but we just need to change our gravity scale to 0 and freeze the rotation of the Z. And then we're going to copy our circle collider 2D and paste as new, and you can move that up here. And this is going to be the thing that's going to interact with the fences, not the player. And since that's the case, we're going to make it a normal collider by turning is trigger off, because is trigger is what's doing all of this stuff that's interacting with our player. And then we are going to say the trigger is going to exclude the obstacles. That way, when it runs into a fence, it's not going to run this anyway. It'll only run it when it runs into the character. And with all of that done, I believe we should still be interacting with the player that way, but he'll run into a fence or something, and he'll just keep trying to pathfind towards us. It's very simple. He's just going to find a straight line to us. It's not going to do any complicated move around objects or anything, so nothing too complex by any means. And we can add some complexity to it later, but for right now, this is all we really need. So that fixes our problem with our slime guy just moving through objects. So remember, we just added a rigid body, basically the same as the player's rigid body. We added another circle collider, turned off is trigger, and then on our trigger collider, we exclude the obstacles layer, and you have to make sure to change your fences to the obstacles. Or if you're not using the fences, the walls that we also have set up in our tile pack. I don't think I took them out yet, but yeah. Whatever you don't want the player to move through, basically. So with that done, we can go into our player movement, and we're gonna fix the problem of we're only facing this direction, and even when we're moving this way, we're not facing that way. So we'll fix that real quick. So we're gonna go into our update function, and we're gonna say if direction.x, because this is the x-axis, the horizontal axis, is less than 0, we're gonna set transform.local scale equal to new vector 3, because even though we're in a 2D axis, our objects still have the third axis, which is the z, which you can see if I go here, and then I believe it's, let's see, not that one. There we go. If you hit this little 2D icon, it'll show you where everything lines up in the third dimension, which looks a little trippy since you can kind of just flip it back and forth, which looks pretty silly, but anyway, I'll flip it back to how it should be. But that also lets you know how like clipping planes would work. So if you're going to our 2-dimension, you can see our camera's right here. But if our camera was too close, it would clip out and not be able to pick up anything. So I like to keep mine at around -10. Just covering that real quick so we don't have any problems with like a camera shake effect or anything like that later, which we'll probably end up adding. A little bit of camera shake or other particle effects and stuff like that always adds a little bit of life to a game. But anyway, enough with the 3 vectors there. A little bit of a side tangent, but we're just going to set it to -1, 1, and 1, because if we set our x local scale, this one, to negative, you'll see that it flips our sprite around, and that's just going to flip it to this direction once. So we'll want to copy and paste this here, and we'll want to do the same for if it's greater than 0 as well, and we'll set it back to normal. And that's all we really need to do for both scripts, actually, just to get them both facing in the correct direction. But now we have our little guy facing in the proper direction. I'm also going to go ahead and turn gizmos off so we don't have to worry about seeing that collider anymore. Not too sure what that's about. Anyway, we'll worry about that in a second. I'm assuming it has something to do with the rigid body, but we'll worry about that in a little bit. So we can just copy and let's see, paste it, but we're gonna change direction to target dot position dot x. And this will check if the target is to the left of us or to the right of us. So if the target is to the left, it'll be less than, so we'll look to the left. If the target is to the right, it'll be greater than, so we will look to the right. And if I map that out correctly, there we go. And now everyone's looking in the right direction. So yeah, pretty easy bug fixes for us. Also just gonna bump up our follow AI speed to like 1.8 and just have them go a little bit faster here. Obviously our player's still way faster, but you know, giving them a little bit of a head start, I guess. But yeah, that's the bug fixes that we really needed to work on. Not too sure what that was with the, yeah, I don't know what causes that. I'm assuming if I set this to kinematic and I set this to kinematic, that should help a little bit. Let's see. And then we also need to do useful kinematic contacts. No? Maybe we can keep you on dynamic. Oh goodness. What was that? Interesting. Some of our knockbacks are being a little bit more powerful now. I don't know. That seemed to fix it, messing up the slime's velocity though, so that should be fine. So keep your player on dynamic, but change your slime to kinematic, and that'll fix the issue with it getting bonked and floating away. But yeah, a little bug fix there. Next up, let's go ahead and fix our fences actually, just so we don't have to worry about them doing this, because it looks a little funky. So to do that, we can go to our fence and we can go to our sprite editor, and then you want to go to custom physics shape, and then you just click on it, click generate, and then you'll want to just move these in. So this guy's a sidewall, so we'll want him to be pretty stiff here, and then something like that. And since it is a top-down game, you'll want, because this is gonna be what generates your tile maps collisions, you'll probably want your things to look something like this, so it like your sprites can overlap a little bit. Most of them will be pretty square, so you shouldn't need any of the extra points, but I'm just gonna go through all of my sprites and I'm gonna generate a physics shape for each of them. If you want to watch this part, go ahead. Otherwise, don't feel too bad about missing something. Just gonna be going, and to get here you go into your sprite editor, from sprite editor, and then you just click down to custom physics shape, and then click into your sprite and you can edit it from there. Yeah, I'm probably gonna speed this part up though. It's not too entertaining to watch, and it's not really too hard to do. So yeah, I'll see you in a second here. All right, so once you are finished, you should have something that looks like this, with having a little bit on the top or bottom, but the sides being pretty consistent. Just because how we want our player to collide. This might not even be perfect, honestly. We'll see. And then depending on which sprite we have, we'll want the layer to be different. Like this one, we'll want our player to move in front of it. But if it was this one per se, we would want our player to be behind this little notch. And we'll go about doing that pretty quick here as well. But after applying all of those changes, you'll see all I did was I just hit apply when I was done before exiting. And you'll see that if I go over to my obstacles grid and I turn on my gizmos, well, that looked pretty silly now, didn't it? Let's see. I think I just need to re-add the component. Yeah. So if you just take the collider back off and then put it back on, it'll remake your colliders. And then we have something that's a little bit neater and is a little bit flatter. And you'll see that our player can move in front for a little portion of it, and then can also move in front for a little portion of the back as well. So yeah, just make sure that after you remake the collisions for the fences, you just remove the component and then add it back on. I think you can also reset it, and that should probably do the same thing. And then once you do that, just make sure to let's see, it is on the obstacles layer. Move on to our player health. So to go about making health for our player, we're going to want to go into UI, and we're going to make a canvas. So you'll see if I click into our canvas, it's humongous. It looks humongous, at least up here. Like if I were to click back down on my player, it's just this giant big box, but that's just how Unity does it. So in our canvas, we'll want to change a couple of settings. So in render mode, we'll keep it the same. And then down into UI scale mode, we'll want to say scale with screen size in 1920 by 1080, which is the average screen size. And then we'll want to match 0.5. And that's just going to make our UI over here consistent to that. And I'll turn off my gizmos here. But that just means that if you're on a smaller screen, it'll scale down our UI, and we'll have to work around that in the future. But for right now, this is all we need to do. And then we'll click on our canvas, right click, and I'll click UI, and I'll make a little image. And I'm just going to drag this up here, and I'm going to set its width to like 4, well, let's do 500. And I'll just drag it up into that corner, put it right there. And then I am going to, on top of that, make a UI slider. So that's this little guy right here. And I'm gonna set its height to like 80, maybe even 100. And I'll set its width to like 400. And I'll want to move that like all the way here, and I'll think I'm gonna resize it a little bit even more. So slider is just gonna work as our health bar. I'm gonna get rid of this the handle, because we don't need a handlebar on a health bar. And then we're also going to click interactable, and we're going to turn that off, because if we leave that on, you'll see that if we're in play mode, we can adjust our health bar, and we don't want that. So I'm going to turn that off. And then I'm going to turn my background to black, and I'm going to set my fill area to Let's set it to, let's see, a good green. And I'm also going to set that to 0. And I'm going to set this to 0 and 0 as well. You'll see now that's our health bar at 0 and our health bar at full. And we'll always want our health bar to start at full, so I'll keep it there. And that's just that. And now I'm going to right click on our image again, and I'm going to right click and I'm going to make a text mesh pro. And at this point, since we haven't done it yet, it's going to prompt us to import text mesh pro essentials. And we're going to go ahead and click import. And that's just going to bring up some scripts, but I'm just going to import the essentials. I'm not going to do the examples and extras. And after that, we can X out. And we'll have some new text, and I'm going to change that to black. And I think it only comes with, just the one font. And I'm going to change it to align with the center and both here, and move it over to this side, and I'm going to say health. We don't need to do all caps, it's a little aggressive. And you'll see this is looking pretty ugly right now, but that's okay, we'll fix it later. I also feel like this could be maybe 70 in height. Yeah. And then inside our text, I'm gonna bring our font size up to 40. I think that looks pretty good. And then do I want it to be bold? I'll do bold for now, just so it's really readable. And you'll see we got a little health bar now. And obviously our health bar is not doing anything quite yet, but we will get to that in a second. So now that we have this, we are going to rename it to health display. That's displat. Display. And I'm just going to go through and read. Oh, no, we don't need our tile palette open. I'm going to name this to health bar. That's our background. And then we can name this to health text. And typically won't ever need to touch the health text again unless we're going to change our font or like how we have it displayed later. But that's all we'll need there. And on health display, I'm going to add a component. And we're going to make a new script. And I'm going to say health or player health UI. Or actually, we'll just do health UI because I have a feeling we'll be able to make this work for both our player and our enemy. And get that set up and let that compile really quick. And open it up. And so inside health UI, we're going to need a couple things. We're going to need a serialized private field, for this case, I'm going to use integers for my health, or not integers, floats for my health, just so I can have a little bit of decimal use in my health system. So if I want someone to lose 3.5 health, I can do that instead of just being stuck to integers with like 1, 2, 3, 4, or 5. And I'm going to name this max health. And then I'm going to have a public float. I'm name that current health. And then I am also let's see. Yeah. And then I'm also going to have to say using Unity engine.ui. And then that allows us to access that slider component. So we're going to say serialized field private slider it's dot UI elements. if we say we want to use that slider, it should be fine with that now. And we're gonna say health bar. So inside of a private void awake, we're gonna want to say health bar dot max value dot value. Let's see, is it high value? Let's see here. We'll come back to it. And we're gonna say high value equals max health. And if I get out of this here, should be see here. Why is that coming up that way? Let's try just using a public slider. That's very strange. Let me figure this out real quick. This is what I do in my normal scripts, and it's not working right now. Okay, there we go. So I was right the first time. It is just Unity using engine.ui, not UI elements. It just wasn't autofilling, so I got a little confused. Dot max, yeah. So max value equals max health, and then we're gonna say health bar dot value equals max health. And that just means on awake, we're gonna find our max health and we're gonna set our current health bar value to max health. And then we're going to make another private void, and we're gonna name this update. Nope, not update. Update health. And then we're gonna say update negative health, and we're gonna want to make another one similar. Update positive health. So here we're gonna say, we're also gonna want to say current health bar value, and then so now we have everything, all of our variables set up in the beginning here. Inside of update negative health, we're just gonna say current health minus, and then health bar value equals current health. And then over here similar, but we're just going to do a plus plus. Then we're going to need a private void on enable and private void on disable. So I just want to say really quick that for the example of this script, we're going to be using delegates, which is what these are going to be for. And we also need these for as well. And this is keeping the system to a very strict way of doing our health with just adding one or taking one away. In the future, we will be changing our health system around to probably not be using delegates, but I want to show an example of them because we'll be using them a lot in the future. But for now, this is how we're going to do a very basic health. So we need to make another new script now. After we drag our health bar slider in here, and we'll say what our max health is 5. And when we hit start, you'll see that our current health goes up to 5, and you'll also see that if I go and click on health bar, the max value is 5. And you'll see that it's not going to do anything quite yet. We have to add something to our enemy that's going to call upon our max health, or call upon our health UI to deal some damage. So I'm going to go and add component, and I'm going to say GA deal damage. I think that's right. As far as spelling, I mean. And we'll X out of that. And inside of GA deal damage, we are going to go and ahead and say using system. And we'll want to declare public static action. And we're going to name this deal damage. We're just going to set it to a new delegate. And then we want to override model behavior to be a game action. And that way, we can say override action, and we're just going to call our delegate, which means we're just going to say deal damage. And that will be all we need to do in the script. Yeah. So now we can go back over to our health UI, and on enable, we're going to say GA deal damage dot deal damage plus equals is a pointer, by the way. We're going to say this delegate is pointing at update negative health, and you don't need to do parentheses here, just with the way a delegate is declared inside of on enable and on disable. So we'll copy and paste this over here, and we're going to say minus equal. So whenever we turn this object on, we want it to subscribe to that delegate, and whenever we turn the delegate off, we want it to unsubscribe from the delegate, and that way we don't get really weird like phantom calls or random stuff like that. But with that done, we can go back to our follow enemy, and we just have to deal damage, drag deal damage into our trigger game actions, and hopefully if we did everything right, you'll see that our health goes down. And obviously nothing's gonna rely on our health just yet, but just think it's pretty cool that we have a working health system. And you see, not too sure what happened the first time around, but for some reason it dealt like a double tick of damage once, but seems to be working all good now. And that is all you need to do to get a really basic health system up and working. And now I'm gonna go through and try and bug fix to get this slime working. We'll see what broke it. I'll get back to you in a second here. Okay, so I figured out what the issue was. It was while we were doing the fixing for getting the slime to not get like knocked back weirdly when it ran into the player. So when I did that, I changed the rigid body to kinematic, and we actually can't do that if we want them to collide with the fence. So instead, all we have to do is, so in our circle collider that is a trigger, we need to exclude obstacles. And in our circle collider that is not a trigger, we just need to exclude a character, the character layer. And that will make sure that our slime can't collide with, or our slime still collides with the fence and the player in the way that we want them to. So with that, I think I just want to try and get maybe, well, actually, I think we're going to save it for the next video. I'm already at 50 minutes of recording time, so after editing that down, we'll see where we're at, and maybe I'll release a part 2 video tomorrow as well, but we'll see how that goes. I feel like we got a good bit done today, got our player and our slime flipping directions, got a little bit of a health system in, made sure our slime doesn't keep trying to move through this, or I mean, he's going to keep trying to move through it, but he can't do it anymore. And we're also taking damage. I think that's pretty cool. In the next video, we are going to work on switching our animations, along with making sure that our sprites are rendering in the right order. So you can see that my player is kind of stepping on top of the fences right now. And we're not going to want that. We're going to want him to be in front if he's in front and behind if he's behind, like that. So we're going to do that. We're going to make a couple of animation changes. So if the slime is attacking our player, we want him to bounce a little bit, or if our player is running, we'll want to change to our running animation that we have. And all of those animations are already, in these sprites. We just have to take them out and add them to our animator. So it shouldn't be too bad. But that will be all for now. I will edit this down and get it to you guys ASAP so that we can continue on where we left off. But thank you for watching. Have a wonderful evening. Hey guys, it's AO again, and this is Editing AO. I edited something, or was watching the recording back and realized I had made a mistake in the fact that we only have our slime switch when the player goes over 0. And that was just because I had copy and pasted the flipping script of the player to the slime, but it's going to be a little bit different for him. So if you want to go back into that follow AI script, and then instead of doing 0, you want it to be transform.position.x. And this should fix our problem with it being a little silly. Sorry I didn't catch that until after the main recording, but you'll see that our slime is flipping in the right way now. I think I'm also going to adjust his box a little bit, or maybe the player hitbox. And I'm going to change this from a circle collider. And that way we just have a little bit more control over how our guy is moving. And I want his arms to be and I think that'll be a little bit more accurate for what we want. So now slime can overlap this a little bit before we take some damage. You'll see that my hairline can get caught, but okay, that's all I really wanted to say. Sorry I didn't catch that till now, but again, thank you for watching, and I hope you guys have a great evening.